There we go. And we're live on My Whiskey Den. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. Tonight, we're going to be going over some whiskeys from the Midwest. And we also have Mike Lisac here, Benjamin Lee Eaves, and a special guest tonight, James Preacher's coming in from Las Vegas with some of his views on these six that we're going over tonight. I think we're going to start with the Limousin Rye. This one is from Dancing Goat Distillery, which is in Cambridge, Wisconsin, about 20 miles east of Madison. The interesting thing about this is it's aged 3 years in American oak barrels, but they use used oak staves. And really, they finish in Limousin French oak barrels using a Solera system. So none of the batches are going to be exactly the same, but they're going for a similar profile.
What's
and
Solera?
Next week, basically, they never take all of the whiskey out. There's always some of it in. They're adding some new stuff and leaving some of it in there the whole time. So they're getting an older age flavor profile from the stuff that's in there, and they're adding new stuff, letting it sit again for a while, and then bringing it out, so that you're always getting a little bit of some of the old stuff, a little bit of some of the new stuff. So it's a nice kind of way to blend it in the French oak barrels. And next Monday, we are actually going to have their national brand ambassador on. As he's going to be on, he's also doing the Distill America. He's one of the founding members of that. We're going to have two of those guys on then. I'm going to let us go. I'll get back to that before we end this one, but I'm going to let Mike start with some of the things he thought about Limousin Rye. Nose, or if you want to jump into the actual taste, you can do that yourself too.
I tell you, this nose is really, really nice. It's subtle. There's nothing about it that's right up front, but it's really layered. It's very sweet and pleasant. I get vanilla and caramel, and not a lot of hint that there's like a slight hint of anise, but not a lot that says, "Hey, this is rye." It's like a little bit of fruit and kind of bubble gum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. The bubble gum I get.
Mm-hmm. And jump in, anyone else with some of the stuff or notes you had. James, we kind of surprised him on this. Mike and Ben did a pre-smelling, tasting the other night. And James is jumping in blind. So he may be a tad bit upset about that, but that's okay. It's good to get some surprise notes that way.
Yeah, you're going to end up getting good, not good, or ooh.
That's fair. We can handle Brad LeClaire's type reviews. That's all right.
That's exactly what I was thinking. For me, right off the top, it was like creme brulee and vanilla custard. The rye came off more like a grassy note or a wet hay note to me, and then it gets real sugary. I started thinking like sugar frosting, powdered sugar. Just a little touch of lemon in there, and a little bit of orchard fruit as well, kind of buried in there a little bit.
I'm not finding anything on the dark end. Everything's all soprano, treble notes. It's all high, like sweet. There's nothing deep, dark, and bassy to it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's not. Yeah. You're not getting a thick rye note, which you would typically get out of this. It's light. It's almost like a background note. But yeah, definitely the citrus, a little bit more of an apple on the front end, definitely on the nose.
There's more apple on the taste than anything. It's sweet vanilla apple.
Mm. And you said vanilla apple. There's a split second before the rye happens where we had that Rua a couple weeks back where there's a split second where it almost gets like that bear claw frosting apple thing going on, but then the rye hits and kind of blows that apart. But not
almost like the apple fritter type thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And if you didn't see, I was on a Whiskey Crusaders stream earlier this week, so I am not pounding drinks tonight. We're gonna cap that
Why
one
is
off.
that, Patrick?
We had quite a few of the tastings, and there was once or twice in the middle there I poured a little heavy. It was all good, but I was gonna say I'm not looking to go down that path again. That's why we're only doing like 6 of them tonight instead of as many as we did that night. So.
Wait, this ends up like cast drinks, right? Where we hang out afterwards and get completely obliterated until 4 a.m.
It very well could happen. I'm not going to say it doesn't.
The late night edition.
Yeah, the after dark edition.
Oh God.
Oh,
Yeah, this
and
one, I was gonna say this one starts to after a little bit of time in the glass for me. I think that French oak starts to come out a little bit. I get a little bit of chocolate, some cedar notes coming through.
you can see the cedar instead of like almost a thicker oak note into it. Just want to say hi to Arthur Lopez in the chat, and I think I saw Jeffrey Patron out there as well too. I wasn't over on that half of thing, so thanks for stopping in this evening.
Yeah, Arthur's a birthday boy today.
Oh, is he? Well, happy birthday, Arthur. I didn't realize that. But that's what I was getting back to. Fred Swanson is the brand ambassador. And the reason I remember that is Adam Casey was the other guy that will be joining us. He was a co-founder for it because there were actually 4 people that did it. He worked at Star Liquor in Madison for the last 20 years. Which Mike and I might check out when he goes down there. It's not too far off from the Capitol in February. And those of you who don't know, Distill America is a big whiskey festival that we have every year in Wisconsin. Not just whiskey, it's a spirits festival.
Shocking. Wisconsin wants something to do with alcohol.
Hey, but it's reasonable, James. It's $60 to go to it for 3 hours, and if you want to get in early, it's only $80. And then there is a master class. I think that's like $100. For all of it together. So compared to even trying to get into what Whiskey Fest or what I forget which whiskey one we were talking about that's in Chicago where the ticket's like
Whiskey Fest.
Yeah, it's like $340 just to show up. So yeah, it's something that's reasonable and kind of well priced for what you're trying to and there's like typically about 90 distilleries that have been there the last couple of years. So there's a lot to choose from. So we'll have them on next Sunday or Monday night. But yeah, so I think maybe if you guys want, we can move on to another one.
All right, what do you got next?
Next, I will go with J. Henry and Sons Bellefontaine.
And Daniel's here. Hey, Daniel. I'm not going to drink this or at least not like it because it's fucking Bellefontaine.
Why would that be, James? Why do you have such an animosity towards the name of this?
Because that was the high school that was our rival. And, we hated them with a passion. Back in the 70s and 80s, the stands would get into fights. And I'm not kidding.
I'm laughing because I like that type of frustration that kind of comes out. So I dig that quite a bit. I respect the type of rivalry. How about that? But this one comes from J. Henry and Sons. It is 51.25%. This one's batch 2, bottle 2594. It is a 5-year-old bourbon that's finished in cognac barrels. A lot of people are already gone over this on the channel. It's 60% Wisconsin red corn, so they had to get the okay from UW-Madison to even grow the corn before they did. And they grow the corn, the rye, and the wheat all on site. The barley comes from Chilton, I think not too far away. But 60% red corn, 14 rye, 14 wheat, and 12% barley. And Nancy Freely is involved on this one and some of the other ones that J. Henry has been doing for a little while now. And, banners, comments, there's all sorts of other buttons to push.
Damn it, I like this.
So
God.
Ben or James, if one of you two want to start on it, we'll let you guys go with the nose and a little bit of taste on that.
The nose is rough. At least mine is. It's alcohol forward on the nose, and I'm trying to get past that. It tastes good, but I'm still trying to get past the alcohol in the nose.
I think it's bright.
Yeah, there's a little ethanol hit there for me.
Yeah.
It's some really dense corn, really rich vanilla, caramel, kind of a sugary oak, some toasted nuts, and then I start getting some a little bit of dark fruits, like almost like mulberry or even grapes a little bit.
I don't get the fruit, but I get what you have, Ben, and then some butterscotch, a little bit of butterscotch, and
My problem is I always forget to mention the butterscotch and the vanilla in a lot of them because that is or kind of standard for a lot of bourbons. So I start hunting out other notes rather than those. Yeah. So yes, those are in there, but
I've definitely got the cognac finish with the raisin, that dark raisiny note on the back end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So at the tail end of when you're inhaling on that one, it kind of comes through pretty well.
Yeah. It's definitely got the dark raisin, dark dried plum type of thing going on at the end.
Mm. And this one I am getting a little bit of the alcohol bite on it, but I've always been surprised how light the front end of it is compared to some of the other ones they have.
Oh, its nose is better in a different glass.
Okay.
It's a pretty tannic too. I mean, this is really drying. It to me finishes off like a really tannic wine almost.
Yes, I was gonna say it's pretty drying from what I just had.
Yeah.
But from their standard kind of 5-year and the 7-year-old, it's a different beast than that one. The cognac really did alter this quite a bit, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it finishes. I mean, as you chew it, it dries your mouth out the entire way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's a little bit of dark brown sugar and your standard bourbon like cherry, but then as soon as you swallow it goes dark cherry into dark fruits into like just dry like overly dried raisins that takes the moisture out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Yep.
And on the overly dried raisins, I'm almost getting it's almost like a little tint of like cotton candy for like 2 seconds. Not even like a split second. Like it's really sugary, and then it kind of dries out real quick afterwards. But
All right,
I had a salty candy on my notes. It's like very sweet, and then it just that salt, and then just slowly dried everything out. It's very enjoyable. I like it. But it is weird because it is drying. It's really drying though at the end.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead with what you're going to say, Ben. Let's hear what.
I was going to say, I really enjoy this. It kind of hits the, I don't know, strikes a balance between both worlds, bourbon, rye, to, cognac. I kind of like what it brings here.
It is. It's like I said, it was different. And now this is the next one we switch to. We're going to stay in probably the J. Henry and Sons wheelhouse of things. But I actually, sadly, did not get the right a second one over to James on this one. So this is my fault.
So wait, does that mean I get to have a dealer's choice from my selection while you guys do this?
As long as it is not Crooked Waters, Domeloz, or the Yahara IPA.
Oh, I was going over to my.
Oh
my,
yeah, you can totally do that. I will not stop you from heading over to the cupboard. And,
Oh God.
Eagle Rare 17. Just thought maybe.
Oh,
I mean, it,
You like how I'm calling it?
all right. If there's requests, I'll walk over.
So Eli's in the chat. Hey Eli, welcome aboard. He wants to know what we're sipping on. So we started with the Limousin rye.
Mhm.
We just had the J. Henry and Sons, the Bellefontaine, which was cognac finished. And what are we moving on to, Patrick?
We are going to move on to the J. Henry and Sons Anniversary Edition, which this one was picked by Nancy Fraley and Joe Jr. Jr. is not the right name for him. Joe is a giant. He's Ed height. He's very tall, so I'm glad that no one gave him the nickname Little Joe, because that would just be like completely opposite for him. But those are the two that went through the barrels to pick this out. And it is a combination of 5 to 9-year-old barrels that they blended together. And this one just came out a little bit earlier this year because it was their 10th anniversary of being open. They do plan on doing releases like this annually, so they'll have other kind of, unique ones coming out. This one is significantly darker from what I had. It's a little more of like an orangey color to it. Sorry, I wasn't doing most of this. But I got on this one, I got a lot of more big chocolate and cherry coming out of this, was what I was getting from this one. So then, yeah, obviously it's a little more of a standard bourbon note, but much different than the Bellefontaine coming right up after that. I thought it was a big difference.
So, question: do you guys actually call that Bellefontaine? Because it was always Bellefontaine back home.
I'd call it Bellefontaine. That's only because of what I've heard other people say, and I'm a stickler for cheating like that.
Well, you guys enjoy that. I'm gonna enjoy this one.
This one's nice. This is just all the classic rich bourbon notes right on the nose.
yeah.
Yeah, like you said, cherries, dark chocolate, dark sugars, caramel. It smells intense.
Yeah, it's not shying away from you, and it's not too over ethanol-y on it.
No.
But you can tell that there is like an alcohol waft as you're coming towards it. As you come towards it, you're like, there's a little bit in here. You get into it, and it's nowhere near as punchy on the nose as what you would expect, kind of coming at it.
They're growing the corn and everything, but it's being distilled somewhere else. Is that right?
Yes, it is distilled at 45th Parallel, which is in New Richmond, Wisconsin. I think 2.5 hours north, maybe 3 hours north of where they are on the west side of Wisconsin. So they'll send everything up there to get distilled, and then they bring it back and age it in some of the old barns that they have on site. So it's not climate controlled, where some of the other places are working on more of a climate controlled version of things.
I've never quite understood the climate control end of aging. Like, isn't the whole idea to have the variable swings, maybe if you're Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, Evan Williams, any of those guys that want that consistent product. But if you're a craft guy, let it go, let it have fun, and see what comes out.
Yeah. Their idea of climate control could very well be, we're only going to let it swing so much.
Yeah.
They don't really say.
Usually when they're doing that around here, it just basically means they're cutting off the base at about 45 degrees. So, because a lot of times they say once it gets past that, you're not really doing too much with it. But I don't know. I mean, I always feel like there has to be something to it if you're getting into like the negatives. Like if you're going to go to the extremes in Texas, the extreme the other way has to have some effect to it, even if it's kind of nominal comparatively. Yeah. But yeah, Just want to. Oh, it's supposed to be that's the truth, Scott and Dennis. Stupid typing. I'm so sorry about that. But
when did you go tire? British tire.
I don't know if that. So it happened when I started typing, and then I looked up to make a comment, and that's
He's fancy.
Yeah. So welcome, Scott and Dennis. Appreciate you stopping in. But sorry about that typing. You'd think it were the other night the way I just typed.
It was the after show.
Side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
I get a cooking peanut brittle note on it too, on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
God damn, that's tasty.
Ooh. Yeah.
What do you having, James?
Oh yeah, a little bit of.
Nice.
I brought a Blanton's Red Tanaka back over, but I ended up just yeah.
James is my Blanton's guy. He finds things that I cannot find in that realm. So
well, the most fun thing that I've got right now that I haven't opened is the Highland Park 15. And because you're never gonna find that one again.
That's true. I can see that. And on the note of what James is drinking, what's everyone in the chat drinking? What do you people have in your glass right now? I mean,
yeah, I saw Arthur's having Supernova.
well, that's right. Happy birthday! I won't slander you for that right now, because that is I am jealous of that one.
And Eli, that bottle was drugged back all the way from Mother Russia, so I'll open it at some point.
Oh, so you had her doing your shopping for you again?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That and she brought that and a Jack Daniel's 100th anniversary that you can't find anymore either.
So
Nice.
So is she like her hookup for things that have dried up in the U.S. now?
There's a fair chance.
That is kind of exciting. James's girlfriend lives over in Russia at the moment, so she comes back with some pretty fun stuff every now and then.
Yeah, it's that the Russian stuff that we had. Well, if you watch the episode, yeah, he crash proofed it, but that guy wants a redemption shot and might be sending some other bottles back.
I like redemption shots. Too bad it'll be like a year before it gets on after he gets it over here.
But yeah, the fact when Daniel picked up that bottle and went, "This says bourbon." Oh, that means someone drugged this back. I'm like, uh-huh.
On the taste of this, I'm getting more. It has a decent rye kick to it, like a third of the way through. I still like the chocolate and cherry on the front end. It's very sweet. Back end, not as drying as the Bellefontaine.
No.
A little bit, but nowhere near like the whole mouth drying, kind of more just like the top of the tongue.
Yeah.
And a little bit of the barrel note, not as much, but I was going to say, and what, for you guys that had it, what did you think compared to the Bellefontaine, since they're coming from the same barrels, basically? I just thought it was a big difference in flavor profile.
Yeah. I like I like them both quite a bit. The Bellefontaine though was there's an extra element of fun to it because of that, especially the drying part, where it's like sitting at the bar eating a bunch of peanuts. It's going to dry you out, and you're really thirsty and you want more. It's just kind of fun. You're like, ow, that hurts. I'm going to do that again. They keep doing this over and over and over again, and it was kind of fun. Both good. I like that. That's the the second and third Wisconsin bourbon that I've had.
There's not too many of them that. Well, we'll go over some more over time. There's not too many that have a really big kick on it. I was going to say sometimes you get a little too much of that tannic, kind of that tannic, or a kiln dried barrel every now and then is kind of that feel you get a little bit somewhere in them. So I always want them to wait a little bit longer, but if I had a distillery, I'd want to get product out too. So I understand that completely. Oh, excuse me.
So what's the oldest bourbon in Wisconsin?
It'd be
Well, oldest regular release bourbon in Wisconsin.
I am gonna say it's probably the J. Henry because I know that Great Lakes Distillery has some, but I don't think they started those right away. But those two and Yahara Bay were all kind of around about 10 years ago when they all started up right in the same area time frame. Because I am going to be getting the Great Lakes Distillery's 10-year-old single malt, but I don't. They have for their rye and their bourbon, they call it like the Still and Oak series. So I know they just came with that in the last couple of years. I don't think it's as aged as some of the other stuff, or not that I know of. They do some special releases that might kind of jump into that realm, but not as like a regular release of things.
Okay. You had mentioned before that it was a lot of 5-year-old or 5-year-old was a sweet spot for Wisconsin bourbon, but was a lot of Wisconsin distillers, were they starting off with rye just because, or is it so bourbon's kind of an afterthought to the.
Some of them are releasing it similarly at about the same times, but I was going to say the rye is the one that in general turns out better in a shorter time span. Like say like with Driftless Glen, like sometimes 18 months, but between like once it gets to about 2 years, 2 to 3 is where you can get pretty decent rye from Wisconsin.
Well, the rye flavors tend to lean into that green note that you get a little like. If you get a bourbon that's too young, that green note sticks out like a sore thumb.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas with rye, those flavors kind of lean into that green note to begin with.
And get masked a little easier.
Yes.
They get covered up easier.
Now, what I'd be interested to try, and I don't know of anybody that does it other than Buffalo Trace, is like a long aged rye. Because I know that if you get a good Thomas handy, didn't help. Didn't help. If handy is, I think that's 10 to 12 years, and it changes it. It gets off of those just beat you over the head licorice anise. Mm-hmm. Wet hay stuff, and it gets more into some complexity out of the rye, whereas most of the younger stuff just they lean into that licorice note and lay it on heavy.
Well, and at that point, and sometimes you're getting cast strength like that, you're getting to the point where you're getting to slap around a little bit. You're getting a backhand. You're like, ooh, flavors, ooh, and you're getting overwhelmed from it. And sometimes the ABV with it, where most people don't seem to mind that. A lot of people like getting slapped a little bit. They're a little
Eli there. Eli, I refuse to drink Whistle Hit Pig because they lied, I don't want to say lied. They were not extremely forthcoming when they first started out.
Oh God, who was it? I'm going to forget his name. Didn't Dave Pickerel help start them?
Yeah.
Yes, but
I understand.
They didn't really say where they were getting their stuff from, and it's our stuff. It's our stuff. And then it came out it was, Canadian, and
put it in the barrels.
They rescued Canadian rye.
Yeah.
Yeah. I with the Wisconsin stuff the rye, which most of the ryes that I've had are 95% have been Driftless Glen, but I'd be really really curious in 5 more years to try some of those same whiskeys, the rye whiskeys, just because of if that climate can support a young rye and that green that you get off of there is really subdued with the Wisconsin stuff, just because of, with the climate, how it does it. Just imagine what that would do with a lot of years, but there's not really any old enough Wisconsin distilleries to really do that yet. Right. There's no 7, 8, 9-year-old rye in Wisconsin. Is that right?
Not that I have seen, or you're just starting to get to that. Would be coming up kind of this year or in the next couple years, because people have been sitting on it and they were looking for more of an early release. But you're just starting to get into that range now. But yeah, that would be something I'd be hoping to see. But yeah, I think the oldest distillery is around 10 years at the moment, with 2 or 3 from that point. So a lot of them don't have the stock that's been sitting around, and some of them were using smaller barrels. So you might not want that to be around for that time frame instead of being in a 53. 25 or a 30 at like 10 years might. Yeah. It's worth a try, but it's also they probably aren't going to sit onto that to see it turn bad. Something bad happens. You're like, oh, I guess we're blending this one. Yeah.
There was somebody in Ohio that had some 5-galloners that they used just to add, and they just let it go, and they used it purely as an additive to add oak to their stuff. They knew it was going to be so oaky it was undrinkable as on its own, but you dump, teaspoon that in, and all of a sudden, hey, there's the oak note.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that kind of expecting what's going to happen and hoping that something magic happens, but expecting we at least we have this. We're going to have this flavor profile set aside so we can help enhance other things when we go to it. But yeah, so you're probably getting in the realm of 5s, but a lot of the times they're not getting a bunch of age statements. I mean, we finally had our first bottled and bond this year, as far as a Wisconsin whiskey. So that was at Wollersheim Distillery. They're starting to put out some other whiskeys as well too, but I
didn't know there was a bonded warehouse in Wisconsin.
They did the very first bottled and bond was them this year. They released it this summer.
Ooh, they had to put some money into that because they got to get the Fed involved with that.
It's a winery / distillery, and it is. If you look at the pictures, it's pretty nice looking. It looks really sharp. It's one that I wouldn't mind stopping at like all day, and it's actually my niece and her husband's like favorite winery. So for their wedding, they're like, we're gonna get this stuff from there. I'm like, let's get some other stuff from there.
All right, I'm gonna be the guy that gets us back on track.
Okay,
Patrick, are we going with the well hydrated piss or?
We're gonna save that for last because I think that will.
No, I thought
right.
I thought we were doing the perfume last.
Okay. The perfume is the one we're doing last. You're right. Okay, we will switch over to the one that you think looks like piss. It's a very yellow flavor. It's a very yellow color. I
somebody in the chat tell me that this color is not the color of like I've been drinking water. 2 gallons of water, and this looks like well hydrated urine.
Yeah.
It is your sample in? This one is Domeloz, is what this is. This is not even whiskey. It's
really tasty urine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
wait. Are you now a urine drinking expert?
Yeah. Have you ever seen Young Doctors in Love?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. You'll have to watch that movie, but there's a really good urine tasting scene in the movie.
I mean, Bear Grylls would be all over this stuff.
Oh yeah.
All right. So the stuff that looks pretty yellow, pretty light, I will give it that. That is because it's not whiskey; it is distilled honey. So they made mead.
Now I'm interested. I've always been wondering if anybody wanted to do that, but I've always heard that it's extremely cost prohibitive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dominic DeSanto was the first one in Wisconsin, or actually the world, because he got to kind of name it. They named this Somel. He goes down to Brazil to get the honey, some of the best honey in the world, brings it back up here, makes the mead, and actually Yahara Bay in Madison does all the distilling for him. Okay. So they make the mead, then they distill it there.
So wait, the other piss was the one that did his distilling. Got it.
That's the perfumey one. But so what
I'm
they do with it's all right.
Perfumey piss.
They are light in color. I mean that's what happens when we don't give you time to do tasting notes. You see?
No, you're gonna get that, and you're getting tasting notes as I'm getting buzzed. So this is gonna get better and better.
So this is the one that they released at cask strength. It's 58.8% alcohol. And what they do is they let this age in bourbon barrels for 6 months, or use bourbon barrels for 6 months. And what I got off of this, I'm not even getting into the flavor. I'll let you guys do that. But when I had it, I was surprised, and my mind started to turn, because I was like, if you could distill the honey and then put it in other used barrels like Isla or Rye or some other things.
Yeah.
But it really, I thought, for just a couple months compared to what the original is, pulled out a lot of the barrel notes. It almost was like reverse engineering Scotch or some whiskey that people would aim towards. Where I was like, if this was 6 months, imagine if you let it for a year, or 6 months in Texas. You know,
It needs the time. It's so that is like the former chef in me is sitting here going like, if I could, pour that into some whipped cream or something and like use it as a flavoring, that'd be great. But wow, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's got a pucker factor pretty high on the sweet.
But
it's not bad. It's just it's just
like, and it's not as sugary, like sugary as I thought it was going to be when you're thinking distilled honey. There still has like the alcohol kind of flavors going through it and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna see what happens. I'm adding a little water, just a drop of water to see what happens. See if I can find something.
There's really a musty, waxy kind of note to it as well.
Yeah.
It's almost like the honeycomb, like the actual comb, like the actual part of the hive that's you getting out of it when I taste that.
Yeah. I mean, and I like it. It's fun. I like it, but it reminds me of when Wild Turkey American Honey came out, and that stuff is really good in tea. Makes a really good sweet tea. It is really good additive for stuff, but on its own, dear God, I mean, but people that don't like whiskey would like it just because it was sweet and had this nice feel to it. But this with that, if you had this as a 2 to 3 ounce pour, that much sugar with that much alcohol, you're fucked up. I mean, sorry.
It'd be over. Go ahead. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut anyone off.
Oh, a drop of water helps a little bit.
But like I was saying, my thought was like, if you took the honey note and let it sit in an Isla barrel for a year or two, you'd be sucking so much of the other flavors out of it into this. You'd just be getting like a honey coated peaty richness that I would be tempted that I want to know what happens. Like I'd almost want to get like a 5-gallon barrel of Ardbeg, even though they don't do it. And kind of put this into it and see what would happen to it over the time, because I would want more. Like I said, my idea would be like a bourbon and like almost a new bourbon barrel that was new charred to get more of the oak and the wood out of it, and instead of a used one, and then like an Isla barrel to kind of get some of those combo flavors rolling together over a little bit of wait time. But I was surprised how much of the actual wood came out of this in only 6 months up here. That's all.
That water did help.
Yeah, no, I think this could be really fun to play with the finishing options. I mean, like you said, there's a ton of things you could do with this, and I think it would take on flavors really well. But I added a few drops of water myself, and I'm getting like an old sweaty sock smell.
I'm not getting the sweaty sock with it.
Are they your socks or somebody else's, Ben? Because that makes a huge difference on a tasting note.
Did you sweat sweet?
You're a sugar sweater.
Shit, I haven't been checking the comments. Sorry about that, everyone. But no, so this was just a surprise last year because this was kind of at the tail end of the Distill America where Sherry came up. She's like, "Do you want to try something different?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." Go over there, and I was like, "That was pretty interesting because it was one of the things that I wasn't expecting. Everything else, I kind of knew it was there. I'd never heard about it, and once you get to taste like they have the just non-barrel aged one, and they're pretty honest about that. It's almost like a mix for making mixed drinks and stuff. And I'm like, well, I could see that. You know, I'm like, bottom man, I'm like, yeah, I could see you mixing this with a couple things. And they had someone there actually that mixes drinks there. It's called Spirited Women. There's like 2 or 3 like bartenders there, and they'll mix drinks with different stuff for you. So, you know, I'm like, yeah, let's try this over here with this. And they put something together that I didn't even ask. I'm like, it was really good that way. So it kind of had its home, but this was their kind of step of doing something interesting. And on the very first kind of shot of putting out that, I thought it was neat that they were trying something interesting right away. Besides just here's this basically the Somel at a lower proof and a high proof. Here's also this thing where we're already trying to screw with it. Which if I were doing a distillery or something, I'd be trying to screw with it right away too. Yeah, you know, play with the numbers a bit and see what happens.
Patrick, we need to send some of this to Dan and see what he can do with it in a cocktail.
I think we could handle that. Yeah, definitely.
A good friend of Pat and I's is a bartender who enjoys screwing around with stuff and seeing what he can do. And I think that he might have some fun with that one.
Yeah.
I was going to say that would be it's up a bartender's best friend alley where it's like, oh, I just want sweet and I can play with this all the way.
I mean, that's sweeter than Bren whiskey. If I don't know if any of you three have had Bren.
Yeah. Cotton candy.
Jesus.
It's diabetes in a glass.
It's on par with Bren and with sweetness, but I think this actually has more complexity than the Bren.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Yeah, Bren's just like one note diabetes. Drink this, and you do not have all your toes at the end of the night.
You're saying I get gout at the end of the evening? Is that what's happening?
You drink a bottle of this, you're gonna end up with gout. Yep, that's what we're saying.
Sure, you don't have gout from all that bacon you ate the other night?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I needed something to eat as that was going on. So yeah, and they had all the barbecue, so I was like, I need to eat something, BD. But yeah, the next morning, like, I could smell like what was in like the vent fan, like grate in the top. I could smell the leftover bacon in there, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Are you sure that was not coming out of your pores?
It might have been. It might have been coming out of my pores, but I took that grate out the next day and washed it, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Bacon hangover, man. Y'all are killing me, bro. I mean. Here, y'all are on Central Time, so it's already like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night for me. And I'm watching y'all chowing down on bacon and all this barbecue.
Yeah.
Burn ends.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I can almost smell it. I'm just crazy.
It's like 5 pounds of meat a piece. and you guys are eating it like popcorn in a movie. And you're just like throwing it in there. You just watch over. It's like, oh, yeah, I got burn ends. Oh, yeah, I got this. It's like, oh, God.
You should have seen Patrick last year at Salt Lick. Oh, he was a fat kid happy.
I was a fat kid happy at that point. Well, there's a point where I like my stomach is like, you have had enough. You need to stop eating.
And at that point in time, you put down another hot link.
It might have happened.
I was sitting at the table with you.
The hot links are good.
Yes, they were, but you had eaten like 3 pigs, 2 cows, and we're like, hot link.
The barbecue is different down there, okay?
Yeah.
And from what I understand, it's not like Terry Black's or other places. There's other places that I've gotten other stuff like La Barbecue. Sherry and I went to before Brad's secret tasting. Like we got there, and I was like, oh no, we have to eat something. So we walked down like 2 blocks to La Barbecue and waited, and I'm like, well, we're gonna eat someplace, so we got to eat here. And yeah, it was well worth it. But yeah, I knew I was getting for it that night too. Where were we? Did we?
we've
got
done Limousin rye.
We're gonna go to the Regatta rye.
Oh,
I do-
we're getting fancy on the boat tonight. Okay.
We're getting fancy on the boat. Yeah, deck shoes.
One thing about the Domeloz, I really think if you had like a 1 or 2 liter barrel that you had put some Isla in, and let that season that up, and then you put this stuff in there, I think it would be really freaking phenomenal. Just to pull that salt and the sweet out, and to play with it, and it's like, all right, let's try it here and here and here. I think there's enough there with it that you could have a lot of fun with it and doing something like that.
I agree. It's a playable thing.
That's one of them things that I want to send to the boys down in Texas. I want to send and send them 55 gallons of that and say, have fun.
God, that sugar, it would just turn into crystal down in Texas.
Well, I thought with them, I'm like, even if they did something down there,
crystal. Sorry,
it's different bees, it's different honey that's collected, so it could have a different flavor to it too. Sorry, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Ben.
I tell you what, if I were making scotch, I'd be trying to source some Texas bourbon barrels or Texas whiskey barrels.
It would be well worth it to get probably to pull some of the notes. Imagine like a brimstone out of there.
Yep.
They use brimstone barrel. All right, so hold on.
All right, so we're getting fancy here.
We're getting fancy. We're going Regatta rye. This one is from Minnesota, is where this one's from. This is also sourced from Yahara Bay. It's just all the research is doing. The original owner, when they first started, was like, we'll do sourcing for whoever, because you know what? This is a business, and we need to make some damn money. So I respect that. Like, I mean, that's totally cool. Since then, Lars Forty bought out the other part of it, so he is the sole owner now of Yahara Bay. But this is 3.5-year-old rye from Yahara Bay that is finished in Barbados rum barrels. Heather Manley, actually, who is a sommelier, went down and took the courses down there. Went to Barbados to test the rum barrels herself and bring back the ones she liked. So that part I did. I'm like, I dig the fact that you're going that extra mile, and who doesn't want a trip to Barbados?
She was down there to test the rum barrels.
Yeah.
She wasn't down there to drink mojitos and suntan.
And this one is at 47.5% alcohol. So not on most of these aren't on the low end of stuff like at 40s. They're at least a little bit higher up. Yeah. Kind of reaching for a little bit more complexity on it. And Ben, we'll let you start off on this one.
Okay. Yeah, this one to me, I don't know if it's coming from the South and what I've gotten to experience with some Midwestern ryes, but this to me is just personifies Midwestern rye. There's this I get like a lemon pledge furniture polish in the nose, a little bit of mahogany wood. There's a nice hit of anise and rye grain. And the other night, after it spent a little time in the glass, I was starting to get a green apple out of it. But then there's some nice sugar notes in there too, I think, coming from the rum. So.
And this we did later on because I think this is a much more forward rye compared to Limousin. This one is, like you're saying, more kind of that standard Midwest where it's being aggressive at you with the flavors rather than trying to be subdued. But I am not the biggest anise fan or black licorice fan, so it takes me a second to get past that. So, I'll get to the other notes in a second. But, that's pretty fair on what I was getting, especially that lemon pledge.
Yeah.
Like that right on the front end that's what's getting me right off the first sniff.
Yeah. And I have found that in all the different ryes I've tried, that to me has become almost a signature of, if I smell that strong, that's more than likely that's a Midwestern rye. I don't get that out of New York or Pennsylvania ryes as much. I don't get that of ryes here or, Sazerac or some of the other Buffalo Trace or whoever.
You don't get like bread and butter dill pickles?
I get you what you're saying with that, like the butter pick.
But like
It's in there. It's just not. It's not the first thing that I'm getting. I'm getting like lemon.
no. But that yeah, it's it. Yeah, I'll give you the anise is first, but after that, it's like bread and butter pickles.
Yeah,
but like with the dill shot in it.
I tell you what, I get that more on the palate than I do on the nose.
I'm drinking at this point.
Okay. Yeah, no, I totally get the bread and butter pickle note, especially on the palate.
Yeah.
And it's weird that I don't mind it in this because I'm typically more of a dill pickle fan, but just on the nose I can get that, like you said now, like that buttered pickle is definitely in there more so because it's like coated over. Yeah, I get you.
That sweet pickle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Like
the black licorice mid-range.
It's almost weird. I kind of want to like drop a dab of horseradish in this and just drink it back and make it like a spicy bread and butter pickle.
You know, we're all about trying things.
I don't know if I can freaking. You're gonna.
You should hear what I was doing this stuff with the other night.
Yeah, it's the, and I don't know if it's just the. I don't know if it's a subtlety of the region of the rye, but it's a softer. Maybe softer is not the right word, but it's a different rye than a lot of other ones. But that one thing about rye that I do like is there's a greater range. I mean, there is like something soft like Limousin rye. You know, it's a softer rye, or Pikesville. I'm gonna kick you right in the throat rye.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Stag Junior of rye
in there and what they do with it. Yeah. Like I can have Buffalo Trace or I can have Stag Junior, and it's all. Everything's good, but with the rye, I wish I knew more about the rye and how it's getting the different punch flavors. I don't mind the pickle notes, I don't mind the anise notes, whatever. But when they can balance it out, you know, if I want to eat pickles, I'll eat a pickle. If I want to have licorice, I'll have licorice. But the ones that can balance it all out, they're nice. They're just I don't. Of course, you know, I had 3 whiskeys before we started the stream. So now, and now we're X number of in.
Mike, follow my finger.
No.
You keep lowering it. What's wrong with you, Cheese?
Which finger? There's 6.
And I like Eli. He's just he's telling you to definitely do that. I know you don't have any, otherwise you would have came back with it. But
it's
I like
next door. It's
Eli.
next door from Christmas. So if you really want me to do it, I'll do it.
I mean, you don't. I mean,
oh,
yeah.
I'll be back.
Yeah, Eli sitting back there like Emperor Palpatine. Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
I like that type of encouragement. I try to apply that myself. Because
I got a little bit of that the other night.
I like this rye a lot. I mean, it's not in your face at all. It's soft, and there's a lot of subtlety to it, but it still has the rye notes to it.
No, this rye, maybe that's some of the rum finishing. I don't know, but it's really well rounded.
Yeah,
it's not very spiky at all. The flavors are bold, but this is really well done. That's why I said the other night, you guys are going to turn me into a rye fan.
and I wasn't one before, but like I said, I thought the rum barrels did affect this quite a bit. Like it made it much more palatable for me.
Yeah,
like it kind of killed off the anise at the right point, right where I was like, and I'm like, oh hey, look at that, you know, look what else is in here. But yeah. Now Arthur's pushing it. I like people out here in our group chat just pushing. You know he's going to come back with it too. That's the best part about James. He'll come back.
The only other two prior to having these that you sent, specifically the Limousin and the Regatta, the only other two ryes that I thought were subtle but yet had a lot of complexity to them were the Dickel rye, which is great for $21. I mean, it's a rye, but the Old
Forester bottom shelf rye.
It absolutely, and the Old Forester rye, it just has a very unique flavor to it, and really good price that you just don't expect it from a rye whiskey. This is a neat, drinkable rye whiskey all day long. This is really good.
I would absolutely take a bottle of this. I mean, yeah, this is really good.
Once I get into the total wines, I can start picking it up again. I don't have it up here unless they started doing it recently. I have one or two places that are like they'll get more unique stuff, but it's random. Like we got 8 bottles, it's on the shelf, and then after that they're like, oh, then we rotated to this one that we heard about, and so it's kind of like a crapshoot at a couple places. I mean, it's nice that way because then I can walk in and be like, oh, I haven't had this, woohoo, and walk away. But at the same time, it'd be nice to go back and be like, I know where this is, at all times. I can be like, hey, it's pretty reasonably priced. I think this is between like 40 and 50, somewhere in that ballpark. I think most craft stuff, if it's 50 or under, you're usually in a pretty safe spot.
Yeah.
I did get one just recently from Panther Distilling in Minnesota that was about only like $30 for the whole bottle, but the person who picked it up for me said it was pretty decent, and I was like, ooh, we'll be happy to try that coming up. But then you can only get 1 bottle there instead of 2 bottles like in Texas, so that is it's even more depressing, really. I mean, I'd want to come away with 5 bottles if I went to the distillery. I'm like, what's your lineup? I'll take all 3. We'll see, be on my way that day.
Take a buddy.
That's why my wife comes with.
That's right. Yeah. Take a buddy who's on step 11 of 12.
Don't be tempted. Just stand here with the bottle in your hand.
Yeah. I'll take you out for ice cream and we'll go to Fleet Farm afterwards.
Honestly, I mean, tasting this is jumping ahead a little bit, but I really can't wait for you guys to get into that 6 and 20, right? I sent y'all.
It's
fantastic. I mean, it's going to be like this. It's really different from what your typical rye experience is like. It's unique, and I think you guys are going to get a kick out of it.
Be excited, James. What's the verdict?
It just makes it straight dill pickle.
Okay.
Sweet dill pickle.
Time to spread it on a fish sandwich, huh?
The chef in him was like, no, it's not.
Can I buy you a fish sandwich?
Like I need some double fried catfish to go with that.
I'm not against that.
No, that would actually be really nice.
Now y'all are making me hungry.
Fried fish and rye pairing night. That would be a really good idea.
Well, Lent is coming up here.
That's right.
That is true.
So,
but we are not all going to have the same fried fish in different parts of this country.
No.
Could all go to Culver's.
I don't think they even.
Well, man, you and I could, but
yeah.
I was going to say if I was back home, I could go to Culver's, but out here, no.
All right, we are going to switch then.
Okay, that glass is out.
That's a dishwasher only glass now. Damn it. All right, so last one we have of the evening is from.
Wait.
Oh, what?
I got 4 left.
I know, but I didn't want after the other night. I did not want to do like 12 drinks again. I needed to cap myself.
But what about this? We still had the dark fire that we were talking about.
I'll stay on for the after show, man.
Actually,
that's right. Yeah.
Actually, James, you can come back. We'll do a Kentucky night, and we'll bring that one on that night.
All right.
because there's a couple of them. We'll have to go through what you have left, but I had to pull the reins after the other night.
It's only 7 o'clock. Come on,
For
now.
you, it's like 10 o'clock for Ben. It's 9 o'clock for me. By the way, I like
Where's
your
Ben at?
enthusiasm.
I'm in South Carolina.
Yeah. Patrick had 15 whiskeys and 6 pounds of bacon. So he was
in 2 hours, and it affected me.
The big question that I have for Ben, since he's South Carolina, mustard or vinegar?
Oh yeah.
Ooh, oh.
Both.
No. You can't say both. That'll start a civil war. Are you mustard or
freaking love it
vinegar?
all, man. No, I love it all. I tend to rotate around. So like for a month or two, I want mustard, and then after that, then it's vinegar, and then I'll go to like a ketchup base, and then I want dry rub for a while. So I go through it all.
He's a swinger.
I'm kind of right here in the
He's a
upper
swinger.
of South Carolina where it all mingles together. You move to a different area in North Carolina or another part of South Carolina, and that's where it gets really hardcore. We want our vinegar or we want our mustard base. So
Oh yeah, I had a place outside of Durham one time, and they were first of all, you didn't order ribs, you didn't order pulled pork, you ordered barbecue.
right.
Like you walk in, you want some barbecue? Yeah, I'll have some. No. You want some barbecue? Yeah, but I want a rib. No, it's whole hog, vinegary based, and the slightly overweight black lady that was working there told me that I was going to get a pound of barbecue, a side of hush puppies, and some green beans, and I was going to be the happiest little guy ever.
She was probably right, wasn't she?
She was absolutely freaking right. Honey, don't you worry. We're going to get you a pound of barbecue, some hush puppies, and a side of green beans. You'll be the happiest little guy ever. Okay.
That's why my last time in Germany, we had a German form of barbecue. We walked into this place that was recommended to us. I swear you would have thought there were Nazi soldiers sitting at the bar. I mean, the place had this 1930s looking decor. And we sit down at the little table. And the chef I kid you not, though. It really, you walk in and that's what it looked like straight out of a movie from World War II or something. And we sit down. And it's these communal tables like you see in Europe. And the chef walks out and he goes, "You guys are Americans, right?" And we're like, "Yeah, okay." I bring the pork platter. He walks out about a half hour later with this ginormous platter of all these sausages, pork knuckle ribs, every cut of pork you can imagine, and fried potato wedges. And then they serve us this big jug of Apfelwein, which is like this apple cider stuff that was phenomenal.
You were in Frankfurt.
Kings that night.
You were in Frankfurt then.
We were, yes.
Where were you? Where were you eating this?
Adolf Wagner's.
Where?
Adolf Wagner's.
I was going to say, because I went to the Gentleman's in Frankfurt, and
they had Nazis too.
Yeah. Let me ask, did your plate look something like that?
Just a much bigger version.
That was literally a year ago tomorrow that I had that. And as soon as you said Apfelwein, I knew you were in Frankfurt because that's the only area that does Apfelwein.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It was really good.
Oh my God. The liverwurst and bloodwurst and
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Time out. I'm bringing us back to the last whiskey. And we can get back over to Germany and your meat Nazi stories.
So wait, which one are we doing? The border,
the perfume one, the Yahara Bay.
Oh yeah.
The grandma hug you for too long whiskey. Got it.
On the nose, yes. This one is from Yahara Bay in Madison. 43%, barrel 15, 15D bottle 136. This is an experimental kind of series they had. It is an IPA single malt. So it wasn't an IPA beer distilled into the malt, then aged. The thing is, when I had this, is that I really hate IPAs. It's just, I really do not like them whatsoever. And I had this, and I didn't hate it. So that's how I knew. I was like, that is at least something interesting. Now, the nose now has gotten more powerful than when I first opened the bottle, because it is lofty, and James is right.
Grandma, let me go.
It's very perfumey. The hops, you can tell, are in there kind of taking control. It is very powerful in that manner. Whew.
Yeah.
And you guys have notes, so I'm letting you two go on your notes now.
You don't want to hang out on the nose too long. I mean, it's intensely perfumey, but it's if you get into it a little bit, to me, it's just a lot of grapefruit notes, white grapefruit, pink grapefruit that you get from a classic IPA. And so I think I was telling you guys the other night, to me, this felt like somebody concentrated an IPA down. I did a reduction of an IPA. Yeah. Something intense, concentrated IPA notes.
Yeah.
And I think I like the aftertaste almost better than I like the drink of it. Yeah. Like what's sticking around on the end, I'm okay with. Like in the middle, this has gotten punchier as time has gone on with it.
It's not that I don't drink a ton of beer, but it just reminds me of everything stereotypical that I don't like about IPAs.
Where's the licorice
and the people that drink
from?
them? It's just, a bunch of man bun fixie bike riding people.
I like my Capri's had a few drinks here.
It's a high compliment. I don't hate it. It's interesting, and I don't hate it.
No.
I want to hate it, and I want to not like it, and I want to be pissed off, but I'm not.
I am. Where's the black licorice coming from?
As I drink it, I totally get the smell of it. Yeah, the last third.
It's
on the front of my tongue.
It's fornicating red vines.
I wouldn't have gone red vines. I was never a red vine fan, so
you need to let Ben go. So last night, because he drank this and we were egging him on to do to do different blends and stuff. You need to listen to what he did, because you're going to probably want to do it if you have it.
So all right. So I'm sampling through all these whiskeys, and as I'm getting through my notes and finishing, I'm dumping them into a dump glass, just like I'm doing tonight. And so at the end of it, I'm going, okay, I'm going to dump this. I'm going to let them sit, marry a little bit, and then I'll take a swig and see what happens with all of them combined. Mike chimes in, hey, why don't you throw some Springbank in there and make it funky? All right. Okay, Springbank 10, let's go. So I went, got a shot glass, poured out some Springbank, took my dropper, added a few dropperfuls of Springbank to it. It really didn't impact it as much as I thought it would. You got more of the Springbank on the finish, a little bit of that funky tire note, but blended all together, it was actually pretty good. The rye didn't exactly take over, but you could get that rye and bourbon kind of duking it out, and then you got a little bit of funky peat and smoke on the end of it, and then that I don't know, that whole IPA stuff just took over on the finish. Your mouth just turns into I just sucked down an IPA.
It's on my mouth right now. That's the thing with this. It does not leave, and that's why I didn't want to do it right away.
And it doesn't go away. So then they were, what was it you were recommending next? I think. I
know we ended up egging you on to Brimstone at one point.
Yeah, you recommended something, and I did. Oh, you wanted me to throw in some mellow corn.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you didn't have mellow corn,
and which is freakishly weird as a unicorn around this area. But I had some Brimstone, so I said, well, hey, I'll throw some Brimstone in there, because Brimstone has always been a whiskey that I will usually take take a bourbon or a rye or something, and a lot of times I'll add a few drops of brimstone just to give it a little smoky note to it. And so I threw in a couple dropperfuls of brimstone in there, and it just got into a weird ride. It was like all the notes of everything else, the rye, the bourbon, but there was this thick chord of just barbecue, burnt in, peppery smoke in the center of it all with the brimstone. And then about 2 minutes in, it all turns IPA. So it's like, no matter what the heck you put in here, the IPA eventually comes out on top.
Yeah.
I got one that might kill that.
A bit.
Try. I just did equal parts of the Yahara Bay, the Domeloz, and the J. Henry Anniversary. And I'll just say try it.
I've got them all blended here.
My tongue is numb.
I'm not mixing tonight. I'm not going down your path. I know this trap.
So you guys don't get a huge licorice note on this.
I did get some of it. Like I said, there was a punch through there that I did get like the licorice in there.
It's a shitty IPA. I mean, I'm just not an IPA person.
My wife is going to reach through the screen and choke you out.
But yeah,
everything else, but she loves IPA.
I'm not either. That's like I said. I was happy I could like tolerate this, and I liked it when I was there. And I mean, it didn't stick around as much as it is now.
Yeah,
that has got some cling to it.
Yeah, it's interesting and fun. I mean, it is kind of fun, but I don't.
I couldn't drink a whole bottle of this.
Oh no. This I got the test bottle, like a 200 milliliter or a 375, a little small one, and something like that, because I knew it wasn't something that I could put down myself, but it was something that was a little more unique to it.
To be honest, it reminds me of my first experience with an IPA, and that was back in high school at a field party, and a friend was there with his brother from college. We're all drinking the usual Bud Light, Coors Light crap, and he comes over with a Sierra Nevada and says, "Here, you got to try this. My brother brought it back from college." Okay. Oh my God, what the hell is that?
Here, this will make you puke.
Yeah. Which I think we did shortly thereafter.
Was that because the IPA or because the amount of alcohol you consume?
It was probably a little bit of both.
I'm betting a little more to one than the other.
But let's see here. We're at about the hour and 15 mark. So
God, Pat, what did you do to me? That is fucking awful.
Try throwing some of the Domeloz in with it. And the other,
I downed it, so it's gone, and it's that glass.
Out of your life forever.
That glass is out now too.
There always has to be a sleeper in the bunch. That's
what. Like
you're the one who mixed horseradish with something this evening.
Horseradish goes away. That isn't going away.
That's true. I'll give you that.
I'm telling you, whatever you mix with it, it doesn't go away. Even brimstone doesn't burn that crap away.
Like I'm looking over at at the cabinet. Like I got some Ardbeg. Maybe that'll make it go away.
It's a toothbrush. I think it's a brushing that you're gonna have to do. And when you're drinking it, it doesn't seem that oily, but it has to be to have this long of a grip.
Yeah.
All right. Will you get mad at me if I just throw this in the glass, put a drop of water in it, and see what happens?
I'm not going to get mad at you if you do anything I give you. I don't care. I mean,
all right, hold up. I need more water because I swashed my mouth out with the last of it.
You should mix it with that Eagle Rare 17.
Yeah.
I don't think you.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. It is good. It's interesting. It's fun. I mean. But there's a reason that it's in a smaller bottle. With brimstone, you love it or hate it, and you come to an agreement with it, or you just you can't stand the stuff. It's just interesting. It's like people you either drink IPA beer or you do not drink IPA beer. That's it.
I'm on the other side of it. So, like I said, I was just surprised when I first had it. It was like, you know what, this, I could drink this, and normally I'd be like,
that stuff's oily.
Yeah. I would drink it before I drank an IPA beer. I'd put it that way.
But yeah.
Nice
Do you have any other Nazi meat stories? Meat Nazi stories, as Eli put it, # meat Nazi stories.
Nope, water didn't help it. Oh, water made it worse.
Hold
Water's
it
a bad
together.
choice.
I feel like you're gonna be sick. You look like you're gonna be sick.
Oh, that's freaking terrible. That's like munching on pure freaking tarragon.
That's amazing. You're getting all this kind of licorice and anise and tarragon type notes out of it, and for me, it's just straight citrus and grapefruit.
I'm not getting the grapefruit. I'm not getting any citrus. All I'm doing is I took a handful of tarragon, mixed it with a red vine and a star anise pod, and threw it in my mouth.
Eli said, "Add more horseradish."
That might screw it. That might help it.
Yeah. You're snorting tarragon with a red vine straw.
Yeah, exactly.
So, James, would you drink IPA at all ever?
I do. I drink not the shit that's like eating a mouthful of hops.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting any of the bitterness out of it.
Okay.
And this is just it's not good. Fucking horseradish doesn't cover it up. Fornicating horseradish doesn't even cover it. There's still goddamn licorice on that.
You can swear we're past the 5-minute mark.
Yeah.
What, you don't like my fornicatings?
No, it's fornicating. Fine. I'm just saying I break out whatever. Once you get past that 5-minute mark.
Yeah.
Oh.
The Tourette's marker.
I might have to make that marker as a banner, like a scroll, Tourette's.
Tourette's begins now.
No.
Yeah, I'm not going back to that one. I couldn't handle that perfume right now. That would just that was the part that was overwhelming me.
The perfume was fine. It was, grandma let me go perfume, but then I tasted it and it became fucking fornicating licorice, and now it's even the freaking smell is fornicating licorice.
I made out with Aunt Louise.
So just note to everyone out there: distilled IPA sticks around, and you cannot cover that up.
Yeah, if you want to know what it's like to make out with your great aunt.
Hey, don't talk about Ben's last family reunion like that. Ben's from the South. That's a bit too close to home for him.
Oh, come on now. That's more Alabama and Kentucky.
Yeah.
Hey, that Kentucky inbreeding sure did make some good bourbon, though.
Yeah.
Had to focus on something.
And we're down, and we're off.
And we're down to 1 minute and 30 seconds, and I'm going to cut this because an hour and 20 minutes seems to be what we need.
I don't think we lost anybody in the chat.
Nope, they're all still here.
And Eli is at least laughing, but he's the one who's going, add horseradish again. I feel like that's going to be his new statement anytime James is on. Add some fucking horseradish.
Yeah. This may or may not increase the odds of getting other guests.
Yeah. I also feel like if we do Japanese, Eli's going to be like, wasabi. Add some wasabi. But thank you guys for being in the chat. Eli, Arthur, Jeff, if you're still there. Anyone else who's still out there, I'm just going through the chat that's on in front of me here. James, Ben, Mike, thank you all for being on tonight. But I am going to kind of cut this one because it is deteriorating. And
No, we would never go down a dirt. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. So thank you everyone for being on and stopping in tonight. Remember, hit that like button, subscribe, and remember, next Monday, stop in. We're going to be having more of an adult show.
Whoa! Time out. What are you trying to say here?
Well, it's going to have more of a purpose than just in general tasting and fun. It'll be a little more information about stuff. We'll come back to this. We're thinking about having. We brought up maybe having a trivia night coming up where whoever's on between the 6 people on would have to have someone in the chat that could be their lifeline if they didn't know something. We're working on some other just fun evening kind of streams, but maybe
Ben, I think he was insinuating that we're not adults.
Well, I'm including myself in that. So.
Yes, but you have a small human.
I do, but I was also going to use hashtag Meat Nazi, Meat Nazi story. So we will see everyone on next coming Monday, and after that, we'll probably have 1 or 2 little bit shorter reviews, maybe on a Thursday or another night coming up where we actually look into distilleries more, but we'll cut it at an hour because that seems to be the cutting point for our at the show before. Then we'll have the My Whiskey Den After Dark show, which is a whole different show.
You're not allowed to record what happens after you cut this.
Yeah.
No, we just invite other people in at that point.
Yeah.
So everyone have a good night, and we will see you guys later.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
L'chaim.
Yeah, and the broadcast. I hit it twice.